was actually a Muslim.
Many
So,
times, many times Muslims are the victims of these terrorist attacks. And listen, you're saying that Islam isn't to blame. Radical Islam is to blame.
Well, I think it's important to keep in mind that, bringing religion into it at all is, actually serving the purposes of the terrorists. I mean, the Prophet Muhammad said that extremists should be considered the dogs of hell and enemies of Islam. I mean, he was attacked and, defamed many times during his life, and there was not one time where he told people to take retribution for that. And so I think it's important to keep in mind that, these are irreligious criminals that are committing acts of mass murder, and, again, to conflate this to, a civilization that has been around for 1,400 years and, again, has created things like algebra and modern medicine, I think is reductive and simplistic at best.
I have to ask you, because there are a lot of violent extremists use religion to justify their actions. Newsweek found back in August that 16% of French citizens support ISIS. Would you describe those who support ISIS as Islamic extremists?
Well, they obviously, they obviously have sympathies for that ideology. I don't think that that would mean that they would justify the killing of innocent civilians or murdering people on the streets. Again, there's been no religion in the history of the world, Don, that has been immune from acts of religious terrorism. I mean, we had 9 Crusades, we had the 30 Years' War, we have the Ku Klux Klan in America. A Christianist organization. In Norway a couple of years ago, you remember, Don, Anders Breivik, murdered 77 kids on an island and tried to assassinate the Prime Minister of Norway and left behind a 1,500-page treatise calling himself a soldier of Christianity. Now, we didn't expect every Christian leader around the world to go on national television and condemn him because we knew that he was a lunatic. But sadly, there is a double standard in place. When a brown Muslim commits an act of murder, then...
Point taken, Arslan. I understand where you're going with, but I just want to get a more specific. Again, in August, 16% of French citizens support ISIS. Would you describe those who support ISIS as Islamic extremists? Do you support ISIS?
Wait, did you just ask if I support ISIS? And I just answered your question. I said that obviously these 16% of people support the ideology, but again, I don't think that that would necessarily extrapolate to supporting of killing of innocent people. You can have sympathy for an ideology and not, support the mass murder of people. And that's what the vast majority of the Muslim street, whether you're dealing with Paris or Islamabad or Jakarta, we're as horrified as everybody else about what happened today, and we grieve with the victims and with the people of Paris.
So Frederick Fleiken, our reporter there, said that people took to the streets, and we saw them in Paris.
Yeah.
He said he didn't see much anti-Muslim or anti-Islam demonstrators there or talk of it. Do you worry about anti-Muslim protests in the days to come?
It's really interesting, Don. In the last few weeks, Germany has seen close to 20,000 people showing up at anti-Muslim rallies around the country. We see the rise of far-right nationalistic, xenophobic political parties like the, Jean-Marie Le Pen's party in France or Geert Wilders in Holland and other neo-Nazi parties. And so, there is far-right, political extremist groups that are, using this as a talking point.
So do you worry about it?
Sure I do, but I think that it's important to keep in mind that these are, European societies are wonderful, free societies that are welcoming to people of all different backgrounds, and I think that, common sense will ultimately prevail.
Arslan Iftikhar, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Don.